Welcome to another Curaytor live stream. Today, I'm really excited to chat with my friend Jason Thompson. Hello, my friend. How you doing today?
Oh, I am doing well.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. This is going to be a very casual conversation. Jason runs our services department here at Curaytor. In case you don't know me, I'm Steve Smith. I'm our communications manager here at Curaytor. We work together in some of our marketing and services capacities, creating content not just for Curaytor itself, but for our clients, and then providing excellent service on top of the baseline content marketing plan that we offer. That's actually going to be kind of the thing that we focus on today is taking a look at the state of SEO for real estate agents right now. SEO is, I think, almost by definition a moving target. But Jason has spent a lot of time in the Google ecosystem. You might know him as a PPC expert, but he also works in the SEO space. He works with consultants in the SEO space that work on our behalf, our Curia behalf, for our clients. So we want to talk a little bit about SEO in real estate today. So Jason, at a high level, I'm sure that anybody who's tuning into this live or later understands at a high level the concept of SEO, but maybe they're missing some of the importance to it. So tell me about why SEO matters for a real estate agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO, or as some of you may know, search engine optimization, is the whole goal around this is when people search for relevant things online, relevant to your business, you want to be able to be found. And the only way to do that is to build up your SEO presence, to do a lot of the technical back end stuff that a lot of people don't know, a lot of the content side, which I know a lot of you focus very heavily on, melding those two together to make it so Google knows exactly what your website is, what it's about, and so that they can deliver the people who want to find that information right to you.
So the way I hear that, one of our recent Curaytor conversations that we had was about email deliverability. We talked a lot about how, and the week before we even talked about email content. So we talked about the art, and then we talked about the science. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about both, right? That you mentioned creating the content people get excited about, and we're going to show you examples of really great content that can help agents rank better, that can optimize their SEO overall. But then we're also going to talk about the technical stuff, the science, which is maybe less exciting. Certainly is for me. As a writer, as a storyteller, that's where I kind of go, can I just write something that's so good that people just find it? And of course, as we all know, that's the trick of marketing is you can have a great business, you can have a great product or service, and you'd say, why don't people just know that? Why don't people just find me for that? And you go, oh, right. That's why you got it. That's why you got to do the marketing. That's why you got to do the advertising. That's why you got to do the technical stuff because as great as you might be, as great as your product or service might be, there's other folks out there. And whether their product or their service is as good as yours, they can make it look better online. So what are you going to do about it? So that's what we're here to do today is help you figure out what to do about it and get to work on some of those things. So Jason, where do you want to go from there? Should we show some content that we love? Should we dive in? Like that's of course again showing my bias. That's where I'm like, yeah, I want to show. But you know a lot more than I do about the SEO world itself. Where do you want to dive in?
I think we need to start with the foundational aspects of SEO because, again, most people do content really well, but that's the secondary part of what's needed for SEO and to get yourself found. You can build an amazing billboard, but if you put it on a road where nobody's driving, then nobody's going to see it, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to start with, well, what is the foundation? What are some of the things that you need to do with SEO? Why is it so important? What is it that Google looks for to
Hmm.
help you rank so that when you make this amazing content, it can actually be found?
Right. And I should even, is it fair to say that we're not even just talking about Google anymore? We're talking. I mean, and I'm not, and I don't mean Bing. I mean, I do mean Bing. Good, well done, Bing. I guess I hear it's making. I don't want to say a comeback. I don't know if it's ever anywhere, but I hear Bing's on the rise. But
Yep.
things like ChatGPT, think not just what we think of as traditional Google search, but we're also seeing these answer engines.
Yep.
So all in all, you got to have the settings dialed in so that you can be found, so that the content laid on top of a strong foundation is going to help you get found. So where do we start there? Is that where do we begin to build that foundation?
Well, let's start with a website, right? All of you probably have a website now, but there's certain things about websites that Google looks for and needs when it comes to SEO. So there's a few different things that go into, well, how do I rank? The first one is, what does your website look like to Google? Right? How do they see it? How does it perform? Is it slow? Right? One of the biggest things that comes into SEO is loading speed, or page speed is what they call it. Right?
Mm.
If your website loads very slow, you're going to get dinged because Google doesn't like that. There's going to be aspects of your site, we don't want to dive too much into the technical side of it because it really gets into the weeds, but there's a lot of things you want to make sure that are set up correctly with things like your images, your text, your schema markups, all the stuff that's kind of in that back end building of your site to make sure that Google knows that it is nice and it works. Right? So you build up a lot of
So
that.
how do we do this?
So there's a lot of tools around to help you kind of find what's going wrong with your website. Like there's page speed dot insights is something you can pull up that will actually give you an analysis of your website and how fast it loads, right? And a little bit of SEO technical stuff that pops up in there as well. And then there's something called Search Console. Now, Google Search Console is a program that every single person with a website needs to have. Okay, this is something that pretty much nobody that I've talked to for our SEO stuff has any idea it's even existed. Okay, but what
Okay.
Search Console is it is Google's um, kind of like how they see your website is really what it is. It's where you actually submit a sitemap to Google to tell them this is what my site actually looks like. Okay, this is the framework of it. This is what pages go to what pages and what everything is about. Okay, and so you would go to Search Console. It's free. It's a free program that Google has. Um, you log in and you just verify that you own the website, and then you submit a sitemap. And from here, it's going to show you which pages they can see, which pages they can't see. Okay, they're going to be able to show you kind of some performance aspects as well. So you'll even be able to see, and you know what, we can actually show you.
Yeah.
I've got it pulled up right here. Um,
You want to steer for a second, my friend, and
yeah.
I've got I see Ashley's already. Thank you very much, Ashley, for dropping in the Search Console link into the chat.
Mhm.
So anybody who wants to follow along and do this with their own site, go for it. But right now, yeah, Jason, will you let's walk through this.
Yeah, so Search Console, similar to Google Analytics, will show you some performance stats, right? They're going to be able to show you what sort of website clicks that you're going to be getting, what kind of, and this is search results. This is actually a really fun one to look at because you can see what your average position is in the search results, right? So this is saying that we are on average in the 36th spot. But if we wanted to dive in a little bit deeper to see where we're actually at on each one of these, we can actually see on these top queries for Curaytor where we are ranked on average. And so this is a really good place to go and see how you're performing,
Sure.
to see where you're ranking. Are you even ever going to be able to be found? But also, it's a great place to see what are people actually searching for that your website qualifies for, right? And is it relevant? is it something that like all of a sudden we look at impressions, right? This is a good way to go. We can go impressions. Real estate SEO is massive. 14,000 impressions. Oh, let me fix that. 14,000 impressions. Okay. In the last 3 months. So in the last 3 months, this is 15,000 impressions. We've averaged in the 14th spot, right?
Top
Here over
15.
towards the end, we've gone up a bit.
I like to
All
see
right.
that.
Yeah, it's always good. But this tells us that this is something that is massive that people are searching for that they want. So now us as SEO goes, let's start building some more content around that to start to rank for this.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You don't mean to tell me that the reason we're actually talking about real estate SEO right now is because you're pulling back the curtain too far, my friend. I can't believe you would tell all these people live on the internet, on YouTube, which is a property owned by Google, that what we're doing here might actually end up influencing. My goodness.
Exactly. It's an amazing place to find, well, what should I actually build content around?
Right. That's
What do
that's
people
the lesson
want?
there is look like you might go in and say, oh man, I wish we were ranking higher for that. Don't beat yourself up about it. You can't control the past. You can control what you do now and next. So if you see, oh, that's an opportunity. That's something that people are searching that I am already coming up for, that I want to be known for. What can I do to provide more information? What can I do to provide more value? Not just to be found for it, to actually be useful for it, to actually be helpful for it. So it might sting a little bit at first if you're seeing numbers that are a little bit not they're not as high a position as you would hope for. Take the ego out of it and get to work.
I mean, if you look, that's just one query too. If we go here, SEO for real estate, another 7,000.
Mm,
Okay, SEO for real estate agents, another 5,000 searches in the last 3 months. So it's just going to keep going up and up as it's adding these
yeah,
different terms, right? And what our average position is, and how many clicks we're getting for those search terms. So again, this right here is an entire list of potential blog posts and content things to help me get lead generation instead of just kind of picking something out of a hat and saying, oh, I want to write about, changes in interest rates, right?
sure.
Going, well, what's going to get me lead generation? Let's go look at this list and find what people are actually searching for.
Nice. So this is Google Search Console. What you say is not just a nice to have, but a need to have a complete picture and understanding of your site's performance currently, but all like it's to see where you are. It's a snapshot, but it's also it can be your guide. It can be something
Correct.
that you use to make informed decisions as you develop your content strategy and beyond. Yeah.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
so in a technical, you mentioned before, you'd literally submit your sitemap so Google understands what you're trying to do. So that looks like where we are now. Yeah.
Correct. This is the one of the first things that you're going to do. You sign up for Search Console, you go to your sitemaps. Now, most websites, this right here is your sitemap URL. The vast majority that I've seen, that's what it is, right? All the Curaytor websites, that's the sitemap. Okay. So you just go ahead and you plug that in. Now, Google can go in and look at this information. And they can go, okay, so now that we've crawled your website, we can see 65 pages that are indexed, 452 that are not. Why not? Now, a lot of them, they're old pages that, we don't use anymore, or that we've redirected, or things that we have decided, to hide, right? They're not public pages. So Google's going to see all of that. But you can go through and read, well, okay, so which pages are actually being indexed? Are they the important ones? Are they the ones that we want to be found? Are we missing anything? Because if it's not indexed by Google, you're not going to show up in the search results. So if your home page is not in that list or some of your important pages, that's very bad. Now you know why you're
Sure.
not getting organic traffic, right?
So so yeah, from there, it's you can view data about your index pages. You want to make sure the list in there is the stuff that you want to be indexing. Uh, where do you go from there? Let's say your homepage is indexed. Fingers crossed.
Well, so now that we know that Google can see the site and what they're seeing, now we want to make sure that we've written the correct things. So honestly, from here, you can kind of play around with it. You can look at different things inside of of here to just see, different performance aspects, whatever. But as of Search Console being set up, we're done. Very easy thing to build out. What you want to do from there is make sure that Google's seeing the correct things, which we go into meta tags and meta descriptions. Okay. Now, most website builders, they'll usually have a very easy place to put this information on every page that you build. That Curaytor's pages all have it. Honestly, most website builders that people use will have it, unless you're doing some, from scratch thing built with like HTML or something. And even then, you can put it into the code. Most websites will just have put your meta tag here and your meta description. That information is incredibly important because you are literally telling Google what that page is about. Now, when it comes to SEO, there are a few things that are important. Now, we talked first, Google looks at what is this, like, is this website good? Does it work? From a technical side, does it work? Can we see everything? Is there anything broken? Blah, blah, blah. But then they look for relevancy. Relevancy is next. So look at relevancy. What does that mean? Relevancy is the way that Google stays on top as the best search engine is literally providing the best answers or pages to whatever you're searching for. So the way to tell Google if you're relevant or not is content, but meta tags and descriptions will give them the overview. That's a huge place. That's the first place they're going to look before scrolling through the content on the pages to find out what's going on. They're going to look at that meta tag and description. If you don't have that, Google's not going to understand what the website is about as easily, and you won't be as relevant, which means you won't be ranked as high. Okay?
So the idea, like you said, it's gonna scroll the whole page as long as you've got your settings set up where it's supposed to crawl your pages. But rather than asking it to digest the entire page's content, your meta tag, your meta description is the opportunity to steer Google to exactly what you want to be ranked for, to be known for, to describe. It's your summary. It's your
Yep.
TLDR. Too long didn't read the page. Google's robots are going to crawl the page too, and I'm assuming you're going to want to make sure that the tag and the description match or align with the content of the post or the page.
It does want to
But
make sense, yes.
it's your opportunity to say, all right, here's the distillation. Here's the phrase, here's the summary, here's the description that I'm looking to be known for, that by the time that my real reader gets to the end of this page, that's what they're going to know. That's the value that they're going to have experienced.
Exactly. They're going to look at that and they're going to go, okay, so that's very relevant. So here, and then they're going to come up with a list of search terms that are relevant to that page. I'm going to say, okay, so this is all this stuff that this guy has built in here. This is all the potential searches that people could be looking for, and that's what this web page will answer for them. Okay, so now that Google's got that, it's okay, well, now we can start ranking for those. But then the next thing that comes into play is authority. Okay, if you are not an authority website, you will be ranked lower than other sites. Okay? Now, what I mean by authority, a lot of this has to do with things like backlinks. Okay, backlinks, very simply put, is your website is linked on another website. Okay, so let's say somebody else wrote a news article about you, or a blog post, or there's a Chamber of Commerce website. These are all things that you want to have your website linked to. You want a URL, actual link that they can click to, be sent to your website. Google views these and they look at it and they go, okay, so based on the types of websites I'm attached to, those are authority websites, which means that this person must also be an authority in their subject.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, SEO in the past, this used to be black hat tactics. People used to just create thousands of nothing websites and just slap a link on there.
Sure.
Right. This was their way of saying, look at how many backlinks I have. Well, Google caught onto that pretty quick and was like, no, that's bad. You're faking it. You're not relevant. Now you're going to be punished for it. So you want relevant quality backlinks will outweigh. So this is kind of the social, what is it called? When the
Social proof?
um, social, I think so. When it's like the higher your social value, the more your opinion weighs.
Oh, I was going to say, this is one that I've never seen it said outright, and it's possible that it has been. I've never seen it said outright, but like, d does domain authority also take into consideration pre-existing traffic?
Yeah,
That like, it's one of those like, so I think the examples here of a domain with great authority is a lot of streams about SEO and real estate is all going to be about how to rank higher than Zillow. I got bad news for you. I don't think you're going to rank higher than Zillow. I
I,
hope it's not. I hope it's
you
not.
can for certain keywords, but there's a lot that
Right.
are going to be, or certain searches, right? Because what's relevant to me might not be as relevant to you. It's not necessarily, okay, now they're number one for everything all the time and always,
Right.
right?
But by and large, I think that we're talking about domain authority in a way that like, yeah, you go ahead and you type homes for sale in and you write the city and you're going to see Zillow, you're going to see Trulia, you're going to see Redfin, you're going to see homes.com. And that's going to happen across almost every city you find. I think that's you're going to see sponsored content above that. They
Yes.
also run ads too. So you might see some individual agents, some individual teams, some individual brokers, some boutique brokerages. You might see that happening. But you're going to see the major portals, you're going to see the major brokerages. In part, we're talking about domain authority, which comes back to backlinks. I think it comes back to pre-existing traffic. It comes to that social recognition. There's a lot of reasons why like domain authority might be working against you as you start your SEO journey in
It's
this, right?
it's why SEO takes a long time, right? So whenever somebody starts their marketing journey and they come to me and say, "Well, what should I do for marketing?" And we say, "Well, what are your goals?" And they say, "I want leads." I say, "Well, SEO is going to take a long time, so start with paid ads."
Yep.
Right? Because SEO is probably going to take 3 to 6 months to start to see, that upward trend in where you're ranking. Because, and this is the next thing that goes into SEO, is, well, how does your site perform?
Hmm.
Right? So obviously you got your load time, right? You've got your technical aspects, then you've got your authority and your relevancy. But Google's also going to look at, well, the people that go to your site, what are they doing? Are they staying on it? Because if they're staying on it, then they must be getting their question answered.
Hmm.
If they're poking around to go to different pages, they must be getting the answer that they're looking for.
Mm.
So if your website is poorly optimized, if it doesn't have a good flow to it, if you're not directing people to places, if they're leaving quickly, you're going to get hurt in an SEO standpoint. You're going to start to rank lower and lower because people aren't staying on your site. There's nothing relevant on there. So you need to make sure that your website looks good, has a good flow, and has content to grab people's attention and point them to where you want them to go and what you want them to do. Okay. So that's a very important part, which is why SEO is so slow, because that is a huge part of SEO, is actually getting people to your site. So when you start brand new and you're saying, well, I need to rank up fast, well, you got to get a lot of people to your site.
Hmm.
So a lot of times people actually pair paid ads with that SEO so that they can drive a ton of traffic and rank higher.
Right. I was gonna that was thanks for moving to that point. That's what I was thinking about as you were talking about it. It doesn't sound like those two things have to be mutually exclusive of one another. It's not like if you're trying to move towards SEO, you have to know that that is going to be a longer term play. But if you're trying to build domain authority, if you're trying to show the search engine that you are a useful, helpful, easy to understand and digest kind of website, you're going to want to up the traffic. So you might want to boost your traffic with paid advertising to show that the overall experience of your site is one that is worth ranking organically.
Yep,
Those can work hand in hand.
absolutely. I mean, when it comes to marketing, I like to kind of throw it out as you want to get every possible searcher, right? So if we were to do real estate in Lehigh,
Hmm.
right? So immediately, here's going to be the first things, ads. Now, if you're like me, I rarely click on ads, which is weird because I build them, run them, manage them, but I don't usually click on ads. Okay. I usually go towards the organic results, but there are obviously a ton of people who click on the first thing that pops up that's relevant. So if
Hmm.
you're here and you're here, and sometimes GMB results will pop up. So people will run GMB, which is also a big part of SEO as well, is the Google My Business or Google Business Profile, as it is now. You'll want to hit up there as well. So essentially, and you'll see, right, realty.com, Edge Homes, right, all these people are probably going to show up multiple times in these lists,
Hmm.
right? And that's because they're doing every single marketing thing possible. Now, if we were to do something, maybe we'll try this. Best realtor in Lehigh. Let's try that. See, here's another thing, LSA ads. Right? This is another thing that people will run so that they are in every single spot. And what I really wanted to go for is AEO, or answer engine optimization. Right?
Yeah, now
This,
that's a more recent term, of course.
mhm.
That's a more recent development in the overall SEO space, but I think it's clear what it is. Let's talk about the how to influence it, right?
Yes, and this goes hand in hand with content, right? So now that we've built our foundation, we've done all of our technical aspects, we're getting people to the site, we're starting to rank, now we can start to focus on content. So you can build out either A, content that is, just fun and kind of talks about some of the stuff that you've got, or you can write content that answers direct questions. Okay? So content like that shows up here in these types of search results,
Hmm.
okay, that are going to say, well, these are the things that are going to answer your questions, right? This would be things like, how is interest rate changing in 2025, right? In your blog content, you need to answer those questions. And you need to write it in a way that Google can easily break it down. So a lot of people will do a lot of bullet points.
Hmm.
Okay, they'll do easy to digest paragraphs. They'll do things where it can answer a question in an easy way, but with enough content that Google can now dive in, say they are directly answering this question. So we're going to show them in this search result to answer this question. You're now an authority on the subject because you're answering questions for people. Great way to get traffic to your sites. So SEO and AEO work hand in hand to build up your organic traffic.
Okay. Now, again, my bias. Are we getting close to talking about the content?
We are at the content.
I knew it. I had a sneaking suspicion. We've got we have some amazing clients that we work with at Curaytor. No surprise there, no secret there. But I've been seeing lately I've been on some client calls with some of our client ambassadors. They've been showing me some of the strategies that they've implemented that have worked best for them, things that they've undertaken with their own teams, with their own VAs, things that they've built with Curaytor, with their CSM as a strategist, things that we've done on their behalf for a really well-rounded ecosystem of content marketing. And then, of course, beyond that, using our email tool to send it, not just for it to live on the blog, but to send it via email, to use our tools to post on Facebook, to Instagram, etc. But the content itself, I mean, there's like you were just saying, content about interest rates is something that you probably want to have on your site as an agent. But there's other forms of content as well, trying to rank locally. There's hyper local content. I'd say it's a buzzword. It's been a buzzword for like 15 years.
Yeah.
But with the rise of AI, it's become easier for agents to implement it into their business in a fraction of the time. Let's talk a little bit about what are some of the styles of content, forms of content that you see having a genuine impact on SEO? Like this would be time to get your notepad out and start writing down some content ideas that will genuinely improve your SEO capabilities.
Yes. Now, if we're talking about SEO, the first question that you ask yourself is, what searches do I want to show up for? Right? What is the
Mhm.
reason that I am writing this blog? Right? So from a regular content, you're just writing content to say, well, what's a really cool subject that people will read and is awesome. When you're doing SEO in mind, It's we identify keywords. We say, okay, these are high volume keywords. A lot of times people will do search keyword research. Okay, so they'll go into Google, and there's a lot of different tools as well that are outside of this that can do keyword research, right? You can even look at competitors. You can see what your competitors are being shown for when people search, right? So you can find
Mhm.
all these different keywords. Once you identify one, right? And this is usually where we're going to want to start. Is a lot of these as a baseline is local area content, right? So you identify maybe some areas that you work in that are having a lot of search terms as well. Homes for
Mhm.
sale in, realtor in, all of that sort of stuff. And now we want to write content about that local area. Okay. And this is going to help Google to see that you are a local authority. Okay. Somebody who did this very well is who was the website you sent me? All in Miami.
Oh yeah, Amit Buddha.
Yes, Amit. That's right. Okay. So this one was really good. Steve shared it with me yesterday. Jumping into their menu, tons of stuff that has really good information about who they are. Okay. Homes value, no one else know homes. But this is what we want to start with here is exploring our neighborhoods. This content here shows Google you are that local authority. Okay. So right here, all of this, neighborhoods in Miami. Okay, so Google knows you're a real estate agent. Now you're talking about neighborhoods in Miami, which means Google now sees, okay, this person is a realtor in this area. So if anybody is
Right.
searching for homes for sale or realtors in those areas, we know this guy's in Miami.
And
Okay, and
as far as the text that I'm seeing there in that intro, I'm seeing moving to Miami,
yep,
neighborhood in Miami, Miami neighborhood, schools in Miami,
yep.
restaurants in Miami. These are all, I mean, at a certain point, it's like, is Amit competing with Yelp and TripAdvisor as well as real estate searches? But I think that's a good thing. It's again, it's proving that local expertise.
Yes, I would say he might be using Miami neighborhood a bit much.
Sure.
Um, but as long as these other things are a part of it. One of the things you do want to avoid is, people will say, well, put your keyword that you want to rank for all throughout your text. If you overdo it, Google's going to see, oh, this guy's trying to game the system, punish them.
That's a good approach. And so in a recent chat that you and I had on a webinar, I think last month, we did talk about this was in PPC specific. When you're targeting keywords, you could go to broad match, and broad match would say like, "Oh, I see that you use that phrase. That phrase is a lot like this phrase." Is that
Correct.
some where it's like you don't have to literally say homes for sale in, it could also be houses for sale or real estate in. That
Correct.
those can be, I don't say mistaken for one another, but those can be considered synonyms in the Google ecosystem, at least for PPC. Is that like within SEO? Do you, are
It
we
is
in a
the same.
broad match world in SEO as well? Yeah.
Yes, SEO, Google, and all of their many amazing programs, and with AI getting increasingly better and better and better, they're actually even able to kind of figure out the intent of a
Mm.
page,
Mm.
right? Just like they do with an intent for a search.
So the idea is don't feel boxed into using the literal keyword that you think that you're trying to rank for the most. Even if you did all of that homework and checked and said, "Ooh, I really want to rank for that. I really want to optimize for that." Still write like a human. Like
Yes.
find ways to reiterate what that is, but the same way that if you're reading a news article or a novel, that
Yep.
you'd be like, that exact same phrase showed up 3 times in 4 paragraphs. That feels weird, right? So
Now,
re-articulate.
you can also talk about another black hat method that used to be done, which was they would hide the keywords in white text over in these blank spots. They would just repeat the keyword over and over and over again and all the different keywords they wanted to rank for. They just hide it. So their content looked fine, but Google would look at the page and go, oh my goodness, look at all these search terms. This is perfect. And then again, they were like, I see what you're doing. Punished.
This is why we can't have nice things. I'm glad they caught up to it. There's always somebody pushing the envelope and frankly trying to and you
Those
anyway.
were all standard practices for a while. Like they were just
Boo.
normal things that everyone was like, this is a good way to. to do it.
Do
So
it,
they,
hack the system. Like, just
right?
what if you were slightly more interesting? What if you were slightly better at writing and not, no, can't be
Exactly.
bothered to actually anyway.
So yes, write like a human. Google will be able to figure out what's going on, right? It doesn't need to be exactly what you're trying to search for. It can be close. You just want to write the general theme about it is kind of around those search terms. Like we
Okay.
said, for curators in our queries, right? For
Yeah.
all of those ones that were high impressions, real estate SEO. All we need to do is write a blog about SEO real estate, SEO in the real estate industry. That's good enough. Okay. Or we
All
can
right.
have a page. It doesn't even need to be a blog. It could be about, well, we offer SEO services. So let's talk about that as a page. Now that page starts to rank. All right. So it doesn't
All right.
always have to be blog content. It can be just, I want a page that discusses this topic. Okay.
Well, I think that's actually a really good example. So Amit here, this neighborhood guide exists as a blog post, right?
Yes.
And then it branches off into so many other blog posts, though. I think that's I think you talked a little bit earlier about that, the flow. Where here, yeah, now that we're past the intro, all of a sudden you see literally, there's a reason why he said Miami neighborhood so many times. He spent time on every single Miami neighborhood and developed a blog post about each of not a blog post, multiple blog posts. But then, so
Yeah.
now say design district there or downtown Miami, any of these. Now it's not just those. If you scroll over design district, that's also a link, right?
No, that one is
Oh,
not.
it's not. Okay. Okay.
It
I
looks like
think
one.
here we go. So explore design district. I think even if you go within there, we're going to see more links out to some of these guides throughout
Yep.
that they can flow. But then,
More
yeah,
links. And
there we
these are
go.
examples of backlinks.
Yeah.
Hey, now David Castillo has a backlink from an authority site, right? These are all examples of making sure that if somebody's talking about you and your content, make sure that you're linked onto their site.
Yeah.
Okay. It could be a traffic generator, right? If this blog blows up, then a lot of people could, could drive traffic to these other places. All right. So you always want to make sure that your website is linked over there. But because now he has all of this content about all these schools, Google's or all of these areas, Google's going to see, hey, this person is relevant in all of these neighborhoods. Okay. These are all the areas that they are an authority on, they know about. So we can start to rank for these pages or for those searches in your site as a whole.
Yeah.
Okay. Ton of
And
stuff.
can I say I just want to point out this is not about SEO particularly, but this is about marketing ecosystem writ large. That I know that Amit employed several different methods and strategies to build out these lists, right? So some of this, he told me, was like a pandemic era focus was it's never going to be slower than this in this moment. So it was still busy, right?
Yep.
Let me invest a little bit of time there. I know that he worked with the VA doing some writing as well. I know that there's got to be some AI influence in some pieces of this. But there's another component that I think, and I bet everybody that's ever going to watch this understands that already. But there's one piece that I think that people miss the opportunity on, and I know that it's something that Amit does really well, and a lot of our clients do really well, which is engage with their networks. They're not just blasting content to them via email and social media saying, read what I wrote. They're blasting questions
Yep.
to their networks. They're asking, help me share with others. So it's not me at you as a marketer. It's me and you as a community guide, as a
Yes.
resource. And
Which
so
all of
these,
these show up for AEO searches.
right. But
Okay.
so I'm saying I want to point out that to become a well-oiled SEO machine, again, in the same way that you can use PPC to help improve your SEO, you can also use social media and email marketing to improve your SEO and to generate more conversations. I'm seeing the opportunity here that's send an email to your database that says, "Hey, I know that you like, especially if you're segmented well. If you're in Hialeah, send an email to your folks in Hialeah and say, "Hey, I'd love to know. I'm working on some new content. I really want to help people find the best of the best. What are your favorite date night restaurants? What are your favorite spots to grab dessert in Hialeah?" Then you're getting responses to your email, improving your email deliverability, showing that score that we talked about last week. Then you're creating more content that's not just you and ChatGPT. You're actually writing something that comes from other human beings. Then you're sharing on social and maybe even tagging the people who responded to you. So now they've been cited as a community guide or a great resource. So they're going to probably share that content on social because, oh, like you referenced that I helped you with it. And all of a sudden this ecosystem gets a lot more interesting and it gets a lot more authentic. I'm off of my soapbox. You keep talking about the SEO guide.
Absolutely. This is just when it comes to SEO, content is king. Okay. Everything else that comes down to it is the foundation, but the content is what wins. And we're just not talking, it's not just blog posts. Okay. It's not just, whatever random things you're writing. It is what you put on your homepage, what you put on your services pages, what you put on your about pages. Okay? You want to make sure that your content is rich and full of potential search term options. Okay. So one of the things you always want to do is go over, review your website and make sure that if there's a place where you can plug a keyword in that isn't one, throw it in, right? If you don't have real estate agent for this guy, let's say real estate agent in Miami, if there's a whole bunch of blank space with none of that and it would fit really well in your content, plug it in,
Yeah.
plug it in.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I really like. Go to the bottom of go ahead and click on. I don't prove me wrong. On all of the things I've looked around for let's say 5 restaurants.
To eat dessert or dinner.
Sure, I think any of them. Scroll to the bottom. So we're gonna see. I mean, obviously, let me scroll a little bit slower. I want to see those desserts. But if you go, oh, look at the bottom, a description of the team. Scroll up a little bit farther. You got some videos here. Scroll up a little bit farther. There's your CTA about selling your home. There's your ultimate neighborhood guide. It's linking you back. Here's the
Yep.
video of that neighborhood. But then here we go. Hialeah homes for sale. If you're reading top 5 places to get dessert in Hialeah, embed a search, link a search to that neighborhood. That's one of the, so at the end of every single one of these blog posts, whether it's about restaurants to get dessert, whether it's restaurants to get dinner, whether it's date night restaurants, whether it's dog parks, whether it's schools in, whether it's, there's so many different vegan restaurants, things to do, the history of each of them has this link to the homes for sale in the area that we're talking about.
Yep. And
Plus, on the contact info, obviously, you want to have that present. But again, every one of these pages has local content, but it also has that real estate. I would say just a tinge of real estate.
yes,
It's not screaming real estate throughout the entire piece of content, but it does have it strategically across, like in the intro and especially in the outro of the piece.
thing is, you don't want to be afraid to also use this as a lead generation device at all. A lot of people think, oh, this blog just needs to not sell anything. Absolutely not. Now,
That
one of the
That I want.
cool, oh, go ahead.
Can I pivot for just a second and
Yeah.
talk to you about that? So, Mindy Jones of the Amy Jones group, I was chatting with her earlier this week, and I'm gonna send you a link really fast, my friend, if you want to pull this up in the in your window here. So she creates. So Amit has these neighborhood guides. Um, Not
Oh, wait,
that
that
one.
was, yep,
That's
that
all right.
was just
Uh,
plugging Curaytor in there for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
Just
and you
why
know
not?
what? We're not ashamed to. We actually did a blog post about this recently, and Ashley, if you want to drop it in the chat, we'd love for you to check that out because it is helpful. And what we're probably going to do is add this live stream to that blog post for multiple reasons, not just because we know that it'll improve the SEO juice of that post, but also because this stream will enhance that content. If someone wants to go deeper than reading a 5-minute blog post, now they've got an opportunity to learn even more about it. So Amy here, on the topic of lead gen, I was obviously just talking about how much I like to see how the content it lives here, but it goes other places. Mindy told me that on her with this Weekend Warrior, she creates every single week it's like a full newsletter. It's got real estate info. It's got local events coming up over the weekend. It's got calls to action. It's got hot new listings. It's got the upcoming open houses. It's got the in case you missed it recent blog content she's created. And all of these things. One, I got to plug the Curaytor platform. She says it takes her 5 at max 10 minutes to create this every week. I was like, it takes more than 10 minutes to read this. Says she created a template for it the first time that she built it. She's able to, she updates things super simply. But the lead gen aspect of it is she creates this, she puts it on her blog. She has to her VIPs in her email list, she sends, "Hey, here's this. Here's the Weekend Warrior update that you come to expect." But when she puts it on social, she might have a lead gen opportunity. And you can feel confident that the amount that's in this post is worth that. It's not just, "Hey, I'm looking for something that's just available anywhere." She's created such a custom piece of valuable local content that there's no pang of guilt if you ever have one. There's no pang of guilt about saying like, yeah, do you want to give me your email address? I'll just start sending this type of content to you at the end of every week. Oh my God, yeah, I'd love to see the events calendar that also comes with open houses, that also comes with all of this different analysis and updates and information about the local market.
And I mean, this is keyword rich. It is, I mean, you've got this to always subscribe. You can't go too very far without seeing even more places to look at more content, to go through the website some more, to get a lead generation. It's great for sure. Because let's see, this is going to take us. And again, one thing I recommend as well, if you have something that goes off your site or off kind of an important piece of content like this, have it open
Mhm.
in a new tab. Okay. Always have it open up in a new tab. Right. And then she's got this open house event scheduled linked right to it. That's great. So many lead gen opportunities. And I'll tell you, right, this is another thing with Search Console that you can look at, but you can look
Yeah.
at which pages are getting the most volume. Our blogs get us a ton of volume and lead generation, right? As you
Mhm.
can see right here, in the last 3 months, 1,500 clicks to this real estate bio blog organically. Okay. We can even go and we can look at the queries for this page. So you're going, what are people searching for to find this page, right? But when we look at it, this is what we want to see is this is lead generating right here at the very top. Get started, get started. Okay. We have some information, we write some stuff about it, and then we've got links to other things to go learn more. Okay. Down at the bottom, we're going to see this is a very long blog, so you'll have to, you know, go with it. But eventually, there's going to be more lead generation stuff.
Yep.
All right. Towards the bottom, we're going to be asking for more. I must have missed the link, but yeah, there's a lot of lead generation stuff, and always this at the top to drive people to sign up, right? So do not be afraid to do that because you are missing out on huge opportunities for lead generation by just leaving it a blank blog that's just a fun read.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
that's actually so we talked about this from the context of looking at search terms and then building the content from it. I'll peel back the curtain. Jason, you weren't even on this call yesterday, but Mike and I were looking at literally that exact blog post yesterday saying, all right, that's still getting a ton of traction. That's still getting a ton of traffic. What can we do to make it even better? So you're right. We're actually we have additional follow-up materials, a way to help people craft their real estate bio that we are going to be creating as a, hey, if you want a template, if you want a format to build a real estate bio like the ones that you're seeing here, we know you're interested in it. That's why you were searching for it. That's why you're on this website. Is we're going to then make that not just to get started to talk to our team, but to go one step from I'm reading a blog post, I'm not ready for a demo. Well, but I am willing to say like, yeah, like hit me with that template. Help me write that bio. If you've got a way to do it, you've clearly identified what makes a great one. Please help me out with that and just go a step at a time and try to inject value into every interaction that you have with folks. So it's
Yeah.
not just about going to the search console and seeing, ooh, these are the terms that people are searching for right now. Let me build a post about that. You can also go back and you don't have to start from scratch. You can find and optimize the things that you already have on your site that are working, but maybe they could be working better. Or maybe things that, oh, like I've got a piece of content that speaks to that, but right now it's not getting the clicks that I thought it would. Maybe that's a check your meta tags and description situation. Maybe that's a check the headline of the article or the page itself on your post, making sure that like is it compelling? Does it seem relevant to the thing that people are searching for that it's actually showing up for?
Yep, exactly. And that's a huge thing for marketing with what you're talking about of kind of that funnel. You have a blog post, it's nice and easy. But then if they wanted to do some gated content that just is an email, it's just a nice soft, you give us your email, we'll give you some gated content, whatever that is. Templates, more blog posts, more emails, newsletters, whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
And then once they start to get with that, then you ask for the next step, which is, well, let's get on a phone call, right? Let's give you a home evaluation. Let's talk about what properties you want to buy, right? Like, so then you kind of like you slowly work that forward.
Yeah. You don't want to go, as our old friend Phil M. Jones likes to say, it's trying to ask someone to marry you on the first date. You got it there that there is a dance in between, that you have a much longer process and you don't I was like, don't look so thirsty. You don't got to be so thirsty. If you have if you have knowledge that is valuable, the trick is how do you make sure that it's dotted in throughout the experience where someone's getting to know you on their time? Not that it's like, hey, oh, you were interested in one thing that I know. Here's everything. Please, I promise, I'm actually really good. How do you create a user journey that gets them going, ooh, I want to know more about you and what you know, rather than, oh, you asked one thing about what I know. Here's my favorite color, and here's my favorite restaurant, and this is the color, all of that stuff. You turn into like a second grader who gets so excited to share everything, and you go, what were we even talking about? I asked you one question. I asked you one question, and now you're telling me everything. So maybe that's a future live stream is building a thoughtful consumer journey, building content for a thoughtful consumer journey that allows them to feel like they're coming to you while you are still providing value at every touch. Man, I can't believe we're already at the hour. But this has been a lot of fun. You think have we scraped the surface of SEO even with this? I know there's an awful lot that goes into it, but I do hope that I know I've learned some things from you already on this chat. But how do you feel like we've covered some basics for where folks are going to be able to go back and implement some things to improve their sites?
There's definitely some things that people can do pretty easily, but when it comes to SEO, it is an ever-changing, constant thing where Google will run an update and it's then some sort of discovery quest on, well, what ranks better now? And so having an SEO expert who can spend that time, do all of that research to continue to stay on the top of whatever changes, and because Google will change the algorithm and what weighs more now and what weighs less. And so there's a lot of things that always are changing.
Yeah.
Curaytor can help you out with that. We've got people to do SEO. It's definitely something that people can do on their own. It just takes a ton of research and a ton of time and a lot of technical ability.
Yep. So if that sounds like you, a person with a ton of time, a ton of technical ability, and a person who's really excited about doing research, I genuinely hope that this call has been helpful for you. If you find yourself to be lacking on that time, to be lacking on that enthusiasm to do the research, lacking on that technical ability, you know where to find us. Send us a message in the chat here on our YouTube. Reach out on social, email us hello@curaytor.com, or just honestly just visit our website. I think you'll probably get more value learning a little bit more there from the blog post that Ashley dropped a little bit ago. Use the tools that we mentioned. Definitely set up your search console. And if you have questions from there, reach out. Our team's always happy to
Yeah.
help.
Do
So
the
yeah,
basics for sure, because that will help. Okay, do all these basics are easy to do and will absolutely help your organic ranking. It's just it's a lot of work to continually stay on top of it and make it great. But absolutely everybody with a website, get Search Console now.
get Search Console now. I know you've been doing a lot of great work on SEO with our current clients. So that'll be a live stream that we'll probably return to in the next couple of months to showcase some real life examples of the additional real life examples of the type of work that can influence SEO, that can show you that lift across your findability. And then obviously the answer engine optimization is something that we could probably dive a little bit deeper into as well. So if anybody across what we talked about today, if you have any thoughts, suggestions, or requests for future live streams, also go ahead and drop those in the chat because I'm excited I'm excited for me, I get to dive deep on new subjects every single week. And we get to find guests and bring on really great experts, bring on some clients in the near future. So I'm really excited to continue this live stream series as we get to just kind of analyze and improve different facets of your marketing operations. So thanks to everybody who's tuned in live. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in later. Jason, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.